I have another new update when it comes to Zebec, and it's regarding their cards. Again, the Zebec cards. Now, what is that? That's quite essentially a new partnership with something called Meme Coin. And the project is literally called that, by the way. It's just Meme Coin all in one word, no space in between. But yeah, I just thought that's pretty cool because if we take a look at Zebec historically, right? Allegedly, Bonk was the first meme coin card that they launched on Zebec. So I find that very fascinating. And it kind of makes sense, right? If we take a look at Zebec, has the Solana aspect. Not too long ago, ZBCN was top 10 in terms of utility. When it comes to Solana, Bonk, a very popular Solana meme coin. So I think this whole thing just makes sense, not to mention Solana Ventures, allegedly one of the backers when it comes to Zebec. So again, I just like how this whole thing kind of basically makes sense. But even besides that, if we take a look at meme coin, it's not, the biggest meme coin project out there. And it's not that popular in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion. Like, I never heard about it before this. But the way you take a look at it is that if we do see more type of meme coin partnerships when it comes to Zebec, more specifically the Zebec cards, I do find it very fascinating because, of course, meme coins, people care about that too. Don't get me wrong. I believe in Zebec. I like its fundamentals. But then at the same time, I also don't only just hold that in my portfolio. I also hold other meme coins as well. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to something like this, I think it's a good update overall. Now, for instance, people like to say, oh man, take a look at the altcoin space as of right now. Things are having a pullback. But in my opinion, I treat this like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. If I was able to kind of stick through the times before when it comes to ZBCN when the price wasn't doing good whatsoever, in my opinion, and it was able to have that rally and have a pullback, as of right now, to me, it feels like a breeze compared to back then because not only is ZBCN way higher than back then, but then even despite the pullback, it's just easier for me to believe in it because it at least has confirmed, historically speaking, that, what? It has had a moment in time in which it did gain attention. It was difficult to kind of believe in it before, but I still did believe in it. But now it's much easier for me to believe that, maybe if there is a fully fledged type of altcoin season, this might not lose out when it comes to the attention because ZBCN, keep in mind, was able to do that in terms of the price without really much of a fully fledged type of altcoin season. Arguably, there wasn't much hype when it comes to altcoins at that time. Some of its competitors, much like XCN, XDC, XPR, Swiftcoin, they weren't doing the best. And then take a look at what happened to ZBCN. It just felt like it happened kind of out of nowhere. So without really much hype, without really much attention when it comes to altcoins, without really much going on with Zebec either. I mean, at that time, I didn't hear about Zebec acquiring Gatenox or Science Card UK. I didn't really hear much about the Zebec card partnerships that at least were that popular, right? Right now, there just seems to be a lot more Zebec card partnerships to me, it feels like. And ZBCN still did that. So then, now that we have more to latch onto, basically, the way you take a look at it, like for instance, Science Card UK, Gatenox, these amazing Zebec card partnerships, also what Zebec did with Algorand not too long ago. I made a video on that. But even besides that point, now I just feel like the fundamentals feels a little bit more solid to me. So the way I view it is that all I'm going to have to do is just stay patient because hypothetically ZBCN at the price of 10 cents, that would not surprise me whatsoever because if ZBCN just returned back to kind of the most recent previous high that it had, 10 cents wouldn't even seem that far away. At that point, ZBCN to 10 cents was around like an 11 or 13x. Now I get it, it's around a 26x, but at that time, 10 cents maybe seemed a little bit bearish. It's just as of right now, it seems like a little bit of an impossible goal. But then to me, I've seen what ZBCN did back then. So this wouldn't really shock me that much, even though nothing I say is financial advice and I do not know the future. But again, it just wouldn't seem too outlandish to me. If we see something like XRP with a market cap that is well beyond $100 billion, around a $9 billion market cap, which ZBCN would have at the price of 10 cents considering current circulating supply, it wouldn't seem that ridiculous because if we take a look at the space that Zebec is in as of right now, there's not 20, 30, or 40 major competitors in my opinion. Let me explain why. Take a look at when it comes to Zebec's main competitors, other than Ripple or Stellar, because Zebec is not overtaking that. But then let's say we take a look at XPR, we take a look at Swiftcoin, we take a look at XDC, we take a look at XCN. That's four basically that many people know other than ZBCN. So if there's not even that many options to begin with, you know, in theory, if there is a lot of attention for this space, these type of projects that are focused on global trade and finance, the payments market, again, if ZBCN is one of the few there, just the probability of me just even paying attention to that project may be higher as opposed to if, let's say, there's like 30 or 40 major competitors within the space where I may get confused or I may not know, about ZBCN. So this is what I like about ZBCN. Now, not to mention, if we take a look at Circle, which has been gaining a lot of reputation as of late because it went public, because it is the creator of USDC, the stablecoin, we see how Zebec is part of the Circle alliance. Not to mention, Circle, they allegedly hold a pretty big amount of ZBCN. So I think that a little bit gives ZBCN some stability because some other projects out there, in my opinion, that I see, when there's like this large holder of that native token, for instance, if they are not really that reputable or they may need it for whatever reason and they just sell, that may not be such a good thing when it comes to some other projects out there. But when it comes to Circle, the way I take a look at it is that I don't think they need Zebec, I don't think they need ZBCN. I mean, they are, again, the creator of USDC, many people's number 2 go-to stablecoin. I just kind of feel like, are they going to be selling ZBCN anytime soon? Now, I do not know what they're going to do, but then it wouldn't seem that logical for me to just see them randomly exit like that. This is the way I take a look at it. Also, Solana Ventures, I mean, they're one of the early backers when it comes to Zebec. Do they need Zebec again? They're massive already. If, let's say, Circle or Solana Ventures never wanted to believe in Zebec, it doesn't really change them in any significant way either, So then the way you take a look at it is that if something like Circle, something like Solana Ventures, if they believe in something like Zebec, even though they probably don't have to, in my opinion, that says something. I'm not automatically going to believe in everything Circle or Solana Ventures does. But then when I saw that when it comes to Zebec, I was like, wow, that kind of showcases something because Zebec wasn't even a big project back then, let alone right now, and they still believed in it. That's kind of, surprising for me to think about. So that right there just gives me a little bit of a confidence, I would say. Now, I'm not telling anyone to do anything when it comes to ZBCN, but this is just my personal feeling towards Zebec. So overall, I like the project. The market cap doesn't seem that ridiculous at the price of 10 cents. I like what they're doing when it comes to Zebec cards. Other projects out there, they make cards just simply to, I guess, showcase that, hey, we have cards, but then Zebec seems to be treating it seriously. After all, the Zebec cards are powered by MasterCard, so I find that very fascinating. And again, when it comes to what happens in the short to medium term, the price can be very volatile. I do not know what's going to happen to ZBCN next week or next Tuesday or something like that, but during a fully fledged type of altcoin season, what I think we saw back then, if let's say it was better, wouldn't surprise me because, again, ZBCN had that rally not too long ago without much attention for the altcoin space. So if there was actually a fully fledged type of altcoin season, 10 cents would not surprise me in my perspective, even though I can't speak on anyone's behalf. But the way you take a look at it is that, historically speaking, altcoins usually peak as a worst case scenario around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event, which based on the last one, which happened in April of last year, that's around October this year. So if I take a look at something like that, the way I take a look at it is that we're not even in October yet. Not to mention, even if let's say that date doesn't come true because that's based off history, who knows, it may happen a little bit later. But let's say it happens in December, January of next year, whatever the case may be, I'm going to be waiting anyways, right? Because I treat, when it comes to cryptos, I just kind of view it as that's what I would rather do instead of putting it into a savings account. So if I would have put this in my savings account anyways, it's not something that I have an immediate need anyways for that, right? So then the way I view it is that I'm going to be waiting, and what's the matter if I have to wait a little bit longer? For me, all I have to do is just stay patient, hold, and I just wait because that's what I did before. And then ZBCN had a rally. Had I tried to predict the exact moment in time it did that, would have been pretty difficult. I could have maybe missed out on that. Now there's a pullback, but it's still better than before. So if let's say there is the next leg up, so to speak, I just want to be prepared by dollar cost averaging and just holding. So I'm going to be doing that, but this is just what I'm doing, but 10 cents. That one surprised me. Given the market cap, given what Zebec's doing, this is just my perspective. However, nothing I say is financial advice. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.